Nice to see you all. Let me bring up the project manager for Greenwise. This is a person who runs the operation. You know her well by this point, Julia Burrows.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our November Greenwise Sacramento meeting. This has been a historic week in Sacramento, and you're going to hear from Dean Corral about that in just a moment. Congratulations to UC Davis Chancellor Katehi and the Dean, as well as the entire UC Davis campus on hosting the 3rd Annual Governors Global Climate Summit. The first morning, there were over 1,200 delegates gathered at the Mondavi Center and students from UC Davis who attended the session. And the Mondavi looked actually like the United Nations. If you looked at it on the stage, it looked like you were in New York City at the UN. A theme of that conference was to take action to reduce emissions and transform the global economy to a green economy at the local, regional, and subnational level. I truly felt a sense of urgency that was present throughout the 2 days at the summit, that we cannot wait to take bold action. And all of you in this room have been working on a significant contribution to do your part and take action locally through the Sacramento Greenwise Initiative. You're doing the work in your own cities and counties, and I know we have a number of elected officials from our cities and counties here this morning. Thank you for being here. And you're doing work in your businesses. Today in Sacramento, this historic week continues with a visit from one of the most recognizable and prominent environmental stewards in our country. And before we hear from Mr. Kennedy, we will hear from another brilliant leader whose work at the local and now Western regional level is truly making a difference. Mr. Jared Blumenfeld is the Region 9 Administrator for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. He was appointed in November 2009 to lead the team of 850 staff members who support the mission of the EPA in the Western U.S., the Pacific Islands, and 147 tribal nations. And I noticed there are quite a few press releases from Honolulu, Mr. Blumenfeld. So you must be traveling to Hawaii, oh darn, as part of your business. We heard from Mayor Gavin Newsom as part of our Greenwise meeting a couple of months ago. And prior to his appointment as the regional administrator, Jared was the director in San Francisco of the Department of the Environment, where he spent 8 years making the things that Mayor Newsom spoke of a reality. Mr. Blumenfeld has law degrees from University of London and Cal, the mayor is very happy about that, and has served as an honorary co-chair for Greenwise. We also understand he has some connection to Mr. Kennedy, and we look forward to hearing about that and about his work in our region. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jared Blumenfeld.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you for all being interested enough to spend the morning with us today. I think you're going to get a great speech from Bobby, and in between now and then, you're going to get a less great speech from me. Bobby's coming a lot further and has a lot hoarser voice, so you can tell he's more practiced than I. The reason that I was so excited when Mayor Johnson phoned me, it's not often sitting in EPA that we get calls from mayors. And frankly, one of the things that we're trying to change at EPA is reconnecting back to municipal government. We have a great relationship, and Linda Adams, the Cal EPA secretary, is on this commission. We have a great relationship with the states. And I believe it's as important or more important to have a great relationship with the cities. And the reason is that is where the action is at. You know, I think a lot of us were frustrated about the slow pace of environmental legislation in Congress. And some of us had very, very high expectations of what could be achieved in Copenhagen. You have to get 192 countries to agree to anything in Copenhagen, and then you have to get 67 votes in the US Senate. Those are very high barriers to entry. Here in Sacramento, you've got 6 counties, you've got a very dynamic mayor in the city of Sacramento. You can do a lot without having to jump through all these hoops and hurdles. And more importantly, 80% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions comes from cities, 80%. In 2005, for the first time in human history, more people lived in an urban area than a rural area. This is the single biggest demographic shift on the planet. Just think about it, for our whole existence as a species on the planet, we've been living in rural areas. Now 1 million people a week, 1 million people a week move to a city. So it is absolutely the trend that is going to shape the planet's future. And people are looking to examples. And frankly, they're looking to California. They're looking to the place where the iPhone comes from and saying, you know what, they can invent this amazing thing. Surely they can work out what to do with local government. And I think we are rising to the occasion. Many cities in California have said, you know what, for the last 30 years we've been doing an amazing job on everything from energy efficiency, and now through SB 75, how we do planning to get transit-oriented development. The city that I was proud to be associated with in San Francisco this year got to a 77% recycling rate and has a goal of getting to zero waste by 2020. We've set some audacious goals, but really what will set us aside is how we implement those goals. Yesterday I had the opportunity of spending the morning with the Environment Minister of China, Zhao, and he said, we want to copy American environmental laws. We want to get American businesses to China to tell us how we can do things. We were talking about hazardous waste removal. He said it's going to be $1 billion industry, and either those industries are going to come from the United States or we're going to grow them ourselves. This was the Environment Minister of China. So he was here to learn from what we are doing and what we can do. The opportunity is huge. It's just how do we get it done? And the group of people in this room, you have the ability. You don't need to look outside these four walls to get the job done. We have incredible political leadership at all levels, at the county and the city level here in Sacramento. You are a region that's looked to when it comes to transportation planning, when it comes to how you work together to reduce air quality problems. So you've already got a lot going for you. The question is, how do you get to the next level? And you've had great speakers. I was here to hear Tom Friedman a few weeks ago to really inspire you. And I think that's what the mayor's done an amazing job of, is how do we get people who have done it somewhere else or are thinking about how to do it for the first time to come to Sacramento and teach us about the tools of the trade. Because ultimately this is about the mechanics of getting it done. How do you refine something, create the political will, and that's something that really exists because of you. You are the political will. When people come to California, I say the number one thing we have going for us is our citizens. Our citizens come to California because they care about the environment. They care about being outside. They care about recreation. So we also have a very educated, environmentally educated constituent base. So we have won more than half the battle. Because in many places, they're still convincing people, well, why does it make sense to turn the lights out? Is climate change really real? Does it make sense to take public transportation or walk rather than have my own car? We've won those battles. So the question is, how do we get to the policy implementation stage? To me, the biggest litmus test in the last election was the defeat of Prop 23. And that showed, 62% of our citizens in a difficult, very, very difficult financial economy believe that our future is with green jobs. 62%. And most of those weren't smoking pot or anything else, because that one failed. So you can't blame it on that. So this is clear-headed thinking. You know, these folks really believe that this is our future. And we, as decision makers in this room, need to support the mayor and this initiative with the 6 counties to get the job done. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to get the job done. We have the citizens on side. I think we need to do a better job of explaining what it is to be a green job. The whole term of green jobs and clean tech, they're bandied about every meeting I go to, but if you ask anyone what it is, they know that they want it, but it's very unclear to most people what they are. And there's a lot of research that's been done on this. So to me, there's 2 kinds of jobs. One is the green collar jobs. That's everything from bicycle repair to people that put new soles on your shoes, so you don't need to go and buy a new pair. Those are the people that put solar panels on your roofs. Those are the people that fix your biodiesel or hybrid car. Those are the people that are janitors in buildings that are LEED Gold, that are using cleaning products that don't hurt the environment. So we really need to think about how we frame the message about green-collar jobs so that it doesn't seem exclusive in the domain of a very few. That's how it seems at the moment. And really, there are a lot of people that are picking up your recycling every day that are getting paid good union wages. Those are green jobs. I'm not sure they would see themselves as having a green job, and that's part of the transformation that we need. And then the second is the clean tech sector, which is really about the huge influx of venture capital into California to build future technologies, everything from nano solar to how we get energy out of algae. So you need a PhD to do a lot of that work. And I think a lot of people, when they hear about green jobs, only think of those very specialized, highly educated jobs. Those are incredibly important for this region, but there's a bigger picture about jobs. So the first thing is kind of to define the terms of the conversation so that everyone can feel included. The environmental movement has done a very poor job of making everyone feel included. We should be telling people that are saving money by turning the light out that they're an environmentalist. It's not just the people that have Greenpeace or the Sierra Club membership. It's anyone that's really participating to try and reduce our impact on the planet. And that's many more people, especially in this economy. Many more people are doing things. They're driving less miles. They're using energy and water more efficiently. Those are people we should be embracing, because when we need their help to pass what will be radical, we heard from Thomas Friedman, it's going to be difficult. I think we often think this is going to be very easy. Some of these things are difficult, and we're going to need those people's support when it comes time for those changes. And then in terms of climate change, it's an issue that people are very confused about. And I think it's really very simple. It's how we get to work, very simple choice that we make every day. It's where our energy comes from. It's how efficient our buildings are, and it's how much we recycle. Everything else is really secondary. If you add up those things, and those are things that we see every day as part of city government's work. You know, if you know that you're going to get to work quicker on the bus, and it's going to cost less money than taking your own car, you'll do it. And that's part of the financial equation that Thomas Friedman was mentioning. It has to be at least as convenient, and it has to be at least as expensive, and hopefully less expensive, to do the right thing. And so that's our challenge, is how we internalize that. And really the levers of city government. If city government says, we're only going to allow you to build LEED Gold buildings in Sacramento or in the 6 counties, you can only build, then the bar has been lifted. It creates certainty for the business community, which is what they're looking for. The business community wants certainty. And they also want it to apply evenly across all like industries. So if you narrow out one little industry and say it's going to just apply to you, that's not going to work. If you say every single building from a shed to a skyscraper to the hotel we're in, it has to be LEED Gold, they'll say, you know what, fair's fair, and you've raised the bar, and suddenly you brought in architects from around the world who are interested in green building in Sacramento. The lesson in San Francisco, we now have, I think, 25,000 certified LEED architects. They are not doing